We're live. Welcome to the Live Drive Jive Archive with your host Frank Monday, coming at ya out of the abodes of the evening. We are broadcasting to you live from the central kingdom of the celestial dragon, Twilight Zone Old Peking, ricocheting across the airwaves like a telepathic transmission from an ancient antiquitech megalithic structure, reverberating through the earth dimensions, everywhere and always. The undying transmission of the Tetragrammaton, workshop of the subtle origin. Welcome, one and all, wizards and wayfarers, wanderers and warlocks. I hope we're doing well today out in Happy Land. Give me some yells. Come on. That really puts the lead in your pencil. Gets the pep in your step. It is freezing in the capital today. What was that Star Trek expression that Captain Kirk used to say or whatever when he was logging in? Stardate. That was it. So today is Stardate 2021, December 2nd. We are blasting along the International Expressway, headed due east. Under a waxing crescent moon. And we have got the assholes and idiots fucking strong today, brothers and sisters. Good God, what a fucking joke that guy was. You know, he's flying up behind me, and then he sneaks up and stalls out in my, what is that called? In my blind spot, and does it purposely. If I wasn't paying attention, I would have went right over on top of him. Wide open road. Hey, it looks like there's somebody out there in Happy Land. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever and whenever you may be. Welcome to the Live Drive Jive Archive. We're just finishing off the morning's JP Farrell, and we're gonna pop open a mug of black gold. So grab yourself a flagon of spiced mead or medicinal rum and get yourself a seat next to the fireplace. Throw a blanket over your legs and settle in for a little paranormal activity in Twilight Zone Old Peking, where we broadcast to you live Monday through Friday morning. Wow, beautiful crescent moon this morning, guys. A waxing crescent moon in an eastern sky. Hey, look, Paul's out there in Happy Land. Good morning, Paul. How are you? We're coming up on the ticket booth here. I think I'm gonna get a coffee. Yeah, get yourself a coffee. A cup of coffee and a hot dog. Coffee's the stuff, man. Black gold. Voltaire was a prolific writer during the French Enlightenment period, which actually was the precursor of the American Transcendentalism period, Transcendentalism. And a lot of the Americans, Henry David Thoreau, Ralph Waldo Emerson, there was a girl too, God, I keep forgetting her name. Sad. I better, they're gonna butcher me out in Happy Land for that female equality, because I can never remember that there was a couple of female transcendentalist riders. I'll have to review that this morning when I get to the school, because it's not fair to not give a shout out to the female riders of the era. But anyway, so there was a transcendentalist Enlightenment era rider, French, Voltaire. You can look him up. Voltaire, Voltaire. He said a lot of things, a lot of pithy quotes. He was one of the more prolific writers in the story, right? The official narrative. Who knows if it was a single individual or a collection of individuals, but 20,000 letters, 40,000 documents, supposedly. So the rumor says that he was fond of coffee and he would drink, get this, hope you're sitting down for this, he would drink 70 cups of coffee a day. And that's where we get the term black gold. He said that coffee was a great mental stimulant. Now, being a Frenchman and getting his coffee, probably Arabic coffee, right? And probably learned it from the Italians. I'm guessing, right, 70 cups a day, damn. I know, right? That's fucking bananas. We are live, we're back, welcome back. We got disconnected. YouTube crashed. Don't know what's up with that. That's never really happened before. A couple times. I mean, welcome back to the Live Drive Jive Archive with your host Frank Monday, broadcasting to you from the Central Kingdom of the Celestial Dragon in old Twilight Zone Peking. Yes, we're back. Let's get some yo's out in Happy Land. Come on, yo! We got a Quaigo Dacha in front of us, which is a cargo vehicle. Good deal. Good to see you out there, Paul. So there's a cargo vehicle in front of me, and I think it's a funny name because the Chinese character is dog, and the Chinese character for dog looks like a dog. And so the name of this cargo vehicle is Quick Dog Dacha, which is like means like Dacha. I don't know. I hit the vehicle. I'm not exactly sure, but it's kind of a cute name in Chinese. Quaigo Dacha. So we got cut off. I don't even remember what we were talking about, man. It must not have been that fucking important. But it's a beautiful winter day here in the capital today, man. I hope y'all good looking, sexy people are doing well out in Happy Land. I had good times in Dreamland, man, last 3 nights in a row. What is this fucking guy gonna do, man? He's just got no idea what's going on. There are construction vehicles clogging up the road this morning. We've got a, what is that one that has like the lift box on it? Like a dude can sit in the box and it's got an arm that will extend. I forget what those are called. Man, I used to know all the construction vehicles back in the day. My brother owned and run, one of my older brothers, half brother really. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that, Paul. I will drive. I do drive safe, man. I am the most qualified, probably one of the most qualified and competent drivers on the road each morning. So Happy Land stories from the past. Today is actually my beloved brother's birthday. One of my brothers. I had 3 older brothers, 3 or 4. I mean, a couple of half brothers, real brothers, and so on and so forth. But anyway, I was telling a story about my eldest brother's, as far as we know, the first son from my father. He owned and operated a construction company in Southern California back in the 80s, 90s, 2000s. In fact, he still is doing construction. That's his gig, man. He's always done it. He was a Navy guy, but as soon as he got out of the Navy, it was right after Vietnam, he opened a construction company He borrowed money from my dad. My dad got him started, you know. Pops was the big money man. So he bought him all his original flatbed trucks and tar kettles and dump trucks and front end loaders, backhoe, everything you need to run a construction company, right? When you're laying pipe and doing roofs and drywall and electric, he did it all. He'd hire foremans for each job. So he'd bid jobs and get all the money and then hire all the talent, and he'd do a lot of the work himself, but his big thing was bidding jobs. So he knew how to do that real well. And when he was first starting out, he told me he would follow what he would do is he'd get in his truck and he had magnetic advertisements for the sides of his vehicle, and he'd keep a ladder on his vehicle and all the tools you need to take measurements and bid a job and so on and so forth. Anyway, I drove around with him a few times when I was a kid and watched him do this. But construction companies around in the industrial yards and stuff, and onto the job and follow these guys and watch them bid jobs, and as soon as they were done bidding the job or whatever and quoted a price, he'd act like he worked there or whatever. I don't know exactly all the details. Like I said, I went a few times when I was a kid with him, but sometimes I'd wait in the truck, sometimes I'd go in with him. But he'd follow these guys, and he would underbid them by like anywhere from 2 to 5% the amount that they bid on the job. And sometimes he'd just go in and ask directly. He'd say, hey, what if that last company bid you on this job? And he'd say, all right, I'll get in there and I'll check it out and I'll see if I can do it for less. And he'd always just say he could do it for less. He'd just go a couple of $1,000s or whatever under the other guy's bid. And he'd say, oh, this guy's cheating. Yeah, I could do it for less. And that's how he built his business. By parasitic behavior on the big companies. But he was a small independent businessman, you know? What are you gonna do? So I thought that was funny. I thought I'd share that with you guys. Scandalous, huh? Yeah, I agree. Fair play, right? What are you gonna do? So he got a reputation for that, and he even got attacked a few times by different guys that, he started building the reputation in the business of underbidding folks, and they'd keep an eye out for him. And he got into fist fights and, different types of situations, yelling situations. He even, one time I was staying at the yard, I went there as a kid to stay with him one summer, and he taught me all different kinds of things, but he said there were some bad guys looking for him, some foreman of other construction companies or whatever, and he gave me like a sawed-off 12-gauge shotgun, double barrel, loaded, and had me spend the night, sleep a couple of nights in a limousine he had in his yard. So he had a bunch of different vehicles in the yard. I mean, you're around a construction yard, there are just all kinds of vehicles. But he had a Cadillac limousine, and I'm like 12 years old, maybe 13, I don't know. And he gives me a double barrel shotgun loaded and says, okay, tonight you're gonna sleep in the limo. And if anyone tries to break in the front door, you jump out and shoot. And I'm like, what the fuck, bro? I'm a little kid. And I'm like, all right, that's cool, grab the gat, get in the limo. And so I slept in the limo with a 12 gauge that night. I think like 2 or 3 nights in a row he told me to do that. And I was like, I was thinking in my mind, if anything goes down, I ain't doing shit. I'm hiding in this limo, and if anybody tries to get me, then I'll shoot. I'm like, but I had it all planned out in my mind. I visualized the whole scenario. I'm like, if Hell's Angels show up looking for him, isn't that funny? Fucking, I had a crazy childhood, bro. I had normal, ordinary suburban childhood for LA. That's nothing That's nothing above and beyond the Call of Duty where I grew up. I mean, I grew up in a good family, and we're upper middle class and so on and so forth. But just occasionally, crazy shit went down. I mean, I could tell you dozens of stories before. Oh yeah, my childhood, man. It'd make one of the coolest movies that ever hit Hollywood. I shouldn't tell too many stories here on my YouTube channel because they will definitely just they'll plagiarize my material, which are just honest to God real life stories, and they're all going into my memoirs, so I don't want them to get the jump on me. But I'll tell a few that are a little more colorful and fun and interesting. And you can't just riff and steal people's material without giving them credit, but that's why this platform is set up the way it is, so that everyone will just feed their intelligence into the AI, and then they can just pick and choose what they want to make into Hollywood movies or whatever, or reuse on their own YouTube channels. So where did that story go? Had I finished that story? Yeah, I think that's pretty much the end of that story. You put me on my guard now. Really? Yeah, I don't doubt it. Good, Paul. You need to let me interview you this weekend with Anthony. Anthony's been machine gunning me, sending message after message and being like, bro, you haven't answered your email. And I'm like, man, I work a full-time job, 60 to 80 hours a week. I'm lucky that I can even, tune in to do the live Jive Monday through Friday. I just do the YouTube thing for fun. I've got a full-time job, and I got to focus on that, That's why I switched from doing full presentation videos on my channel, like doing a lot of editing and color adjustment and sound work and so on and planning and shooting and stuff like that. Because if you go back on my channel from the beginning, I've got a few vlog videos, but then I've got a dozen, like professionally produced segments on there. Some of my kung fu stuff. But I realized right away, man, that's a lot of work. That requires a lot of effort and planning and energy, and there's incentive to do that, unless you've got like anywhere from 150,000 to 5 million subs. There's absolutely no reason to invest that kind of energy in it. And even with vlogs, like you said, that story, my childhood sounds like a movie, man. It was. And there's no reason to put that material out there for free and then have other people steal it, and you never get paid for your ideas. So at some point you gotta be like, fuck all that. Let's see. Always nervous when speaking with people because I had such a thick Birmingham accent. People don't understand me, but you'll get used to it. Yeah, no worries, mate. That's funny you should say that. I had a friend when I was growing up in LA, a kid, another guy. He wasn't a kid though. He was nearly a grown man. I think he was like 17 or 18. But we formed packs of kids, that would run around, little gang style packs or whatever. Not really, just young kids doing kid shit, But he was one of the older guys in the group. And so he introduced us to things like tobacco and beer and that kind of thing. But his name was Paul Shipoli. Paul, if you're still alive, man, if you're still out there in Happy Land. He had balls as big as fucking cannonballs, man. That dude was the most courageous man I've ever met, and a little bit dangerous in his courage. But anyway, he was always leading the pack and taking us out to do like cliff diving and spelunking, like going down into caverns and stuff, and exploring old abandoned military bases, and sneaking into active military bases, and the secret ones out in the desert in California. This dude had balls. Like I said, he had cannonballs. And shout out to Paul Shipoli. But he was an Englishman. He was the first British person I'd ever met, like a genuine Brit, someone that was born in jolly old England. And but he went back and forth. He still had family in England. His story was like, I I think he was living with his dad, and his dad was divorced from his original mother and then remarried and had more kids. But I knew him like when he was like 16, 17, 18, 19, something like that, for like 4 or 5 years. I ran with those kids. But he was leader of the pack, and I couldn't understand a single word he said when I was maybe, 13, 14. So I was a few years behind all the other guys. All the other guys were like 14, 15, 16. Because my oldest brother, or not my eldest brother, but the brother 1 year older than me, I had a brother 1 year older than me, and I ran with his group of kids. So if I'm 13, then he's 14. No, he was 15. He was almost 2 years older than me, a year and a half, year plus. So you can get the idea, Yeah, old Paul Shipoli. Gonna fire up a JP Farrell before I go have my breakfast, guys. So I got like 5 minutes here. Yeah, Anthony, I'll respond to your emails today if I can, man. Like I was saying a minute ago, I got a full-time job, and it's hard to do that type of thing for the YouTube thing, except for on the weekend. So I'll try to get in there and look at it today or tomorrow, man. I won't leave you hanging, bro. So growing up in Los Angeles, that gave me exposure to a lot of different ethnic groups and language styles. And I think that it helped me develop a malleable linguistic talent at an early age. Because you're always in that type of situation, you're repeating the things you hear. And so you're learning like the basics of all different kinds of languages. Chinese, Spanish, German, Italian, French, had a little bit of exposure to a little bit of everything. Russian. You had to cruise around though in order to meet different kinds of folks. Like one of my first adventures when I was a kid, they said that Compton was dangerous, straight out of Compton, a crazy nigga named Ice Cube. So as a little boy, like, 9, 10, 11, I'm like, that was just alluring to me. That didn't, drive-by shootings and gang wars and stuff. That didn't frighten me. That interested me. I'm like, oh, it's dangerous there? Okay, I'll jump on my bike and go cruise over there and see what's going on. So I rolled into Compton one time. I remember as a little bitty boy. I was probably 8, 9, 10, something like that. Our neighborhood wasn't that far from Compton. The border between my neighborhood and Compton was like a mile down the block. So I had to ride a couple of blocks, 3, 4 city blocks. But like 10, 11 years old, that wasn't shit. So I remember I rode into Compton one time and was cruising down the street, and there was like, black folk everywhere, and they were all looking at me with big eyes. And I rode up on this one scene where like these Grape Street Crips were hanging out, and they were wearing purple, and they were lifting weights, and they had like a yard. And I rode up into their yard, and I'm like, hey, what's going on, guys? And they're like, you a crazy motherfucking white boy. And they're like, what you doing here, white boy? And I'm like, I'm just cruising around on my bike. And they said, you better turn around and go on back home. And I'm like, why? And they're like, because you're white. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Why does that matter? And yeah. And they said, you'll get killed in this neighborhood, boy. And they're like, somebody get this little boy and take him home. And like one of the older kids, he's probably 16 or something. He's like, tell me where you live, son, and I'll take you home. And they had like gats on them and shit, and it was like full on ghetto gangster baby shit. But they were cool to me, They took me home. They just, I knew how to get home. I'm like, we just go straight back down the street. It's a couple of, little over it's like 5 city blocks or something, maybe a mile or so, and yeah, I'm just telling stories from the hood. I don't know what sent me off on this tangent into childhood stories, but I thought it would be fun to do. You never know what you're going to get with the live drive Jive archive. First thing in the morning with Frank Monday, waking up, having his coffee, sucking on a JP Farrell. I remind you, we broadcast live Monday through Friday. Hey there, little fish. How you doing this morning? We have got a crescent moon. I think it's the first day of the 11th lunar month on the Chinese calendar. Yeah, I'd like to hear more about Birmingham and growing up there, Paul. Maybe they forgot to schedule a coast to coast this morning. Who knows? I haven't even checked. I'll check when I head in for my breakfast, which I got to do now, man. Time flies when you're having fun, as they say. You experience apotheum or time dilation. Yeah, these morning drives, man, about anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour each morning, depending on how I hit my departure time, used to be a drag. All right, so it's a waning crescent, waxing. The new moon's already passed, right? Waxing crescent moon, dark hidden meanings kind of day. Nice. Ooh, I better be careful then. Yeah, crazy shit's been going on at the office. They've been shaking up the hierarchy, switching management on us and stuff. That's never any kind of fun. You hire in at a company with a certain group of managers, and then you get used to them, and then all of a sudden they start shaking up the management and demoting, promoting, and shifting people around. That gives everyone survival anxiety. That's funny. And I grew up too, and like, I never knew anyone racist, man, that was like white racism. Never even heard of it. White supremacy, bullshit. The only racism I ever experienced was anti-white racism. I never, in all my life. And then like the whole thing shifted, and they're like, "Oh yeah, whites are racist," and I was like, "What? Are you serious? Fuck, you didn't grow up near any kind of melting pot." And then they're painting this story of a history. They're like, "Oh yeah, white racism. It's a historic fact." And you're like, "Yeah, but it's not a current reality. Not in my life, and it's not a reality for me." And there wasn't any white privilege either. Yeah, that's bullshit, man. I grew up ghetto, so I didn't even really see that push. Like, you guys got to remember, all that shit in the US, all that PC culture and everything, that all emerged after I left. And I start hearing these stories and like what's going on in the news and stuff, and I'm like, are you? And I think to myself, are these people completely out of touch with reality? Do they have no idea the truth? Well, they don't know my truth, right? They didn't grow up. They didn't grow up where I grew up, obviously. And yeah, they're living in some kind of fucking fantasy land. I gotta run, man. I got a lot of classes today, so let's pray. Holy art thou, Lord of the universe, the vast and the mighty one, creator of heaven and earth, maker of all things visible and invisible, master of both the light and the darkness. Send your holy guardian angels, divine spiritual agents, to guide and protect us through the innumerable snares of the earthly sphere. Hi to Two Little Fish's daughter. Hi there. Frank Monday coming at you. Send a cleansing wind to disperse all intellectual dichotomy and endless human opinion. Guide and protect us, Lord, in the name of the Mother and Father, Mother Hydra, Father Dagon, Cthulhu has risen, only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, his beloved wife, Mary Magdalene, High Priestess of the Esoteric Order, and to all the any pantheon y'all are into. That's what I say. All are welcome. In Chinese Taoism, there's an expression that says "Tian xia yi jia," or "We're one big family under heaven, under the grand celestial vault of heaven. It's all one family. We're all one human family." So that's the message I got for y'all. Protect each other, look out for yourselves, look out for your family and your community. And y'all good looking, sexy people, stay well out in heaven. And I will see you in the abodes of the future. As above, so below.